Now today in the shop, we wanted to make a small carbon fiber chain guard insert. We had made a pattern for this part the day before while it was raining. I got to cut the part out of scrap today, got it installed, and believe it or not, it didn't rain at all today. This is a rarest of rare days. But we do have our t-shirts finalized, and we expect delivery this week, and we'll pass more information on that. We get one in stock, see what the quality is. And of all our shop projects, this year we've had a lot of little individual, I call them small detail, changes to this motorcycle. And in the end, I've never really had to take the whole motorcycle apart like I have in the past. And I don't know how this is going to play out for other people. Other people have told me, that they watch the videos and they're inspired and they paint the motorcycle, and that's great. But this is a unique thing even for me to do it one little step at a time. Now today the little project I want to work on is the fill in this little piece here. I already made a pattern on a previous day's video, or a couple days ago, and I want to clean this from behind. Maybe I don't even have to take it off to glue it on. I can get my hand back there and hold it. I need to clean back here, and just in case there's some chain lube or something on there. And I need to cut that piece out of carbon fiber that's going to be an exact match for this, the twill here. It's going to be one more little detail, and this whole bike is nothing but a lot of little details that don't cost a lot of money. Really not that hard to do, and I think anybody with an Mt09 could do them. And to be honest, every one of these bikes is just a lot of little details and a lot of paint, mostly paint. And that paint being so expensive now, that's the only downside of the whole thing. And actually, that's why I was pretty glad when I did this project. I mixed my own gold paint with pigment and clear, and probably saved $300. And I got to pick the exact color I wanted. Now, on the last day or so, the temperature dropped way down, but it's supposed to get sunny this afternoon. Hopefully I can get some more photos. Anytime I make a change to the bike, or to any bike, I like to get some photos for the album. Now, I do have several other things I want to do, but they're all little inconsequential things. And I think the things that I like the most is when I can, this is a simple thing with the scoops and get rid of the bolts, and it changes the whole bike, and it costs me pennies. It isn't one of these things where, and I feel sorry for people that do. You spend a lot of money on something that you think is going to make you happy or change the look of the bike, and in the end, or the best one of all is when somebody spends the money on a loud exhaust system, and then after a month or so they get sick of the loud exhaust system and they wonder, I don't know. But the beauty of this bike that makes it all worthwhile for me is this bike fits my riding needs, my style, gets 50 miles to the gallon, has all the safety features, and I think as we're working on it little by little, by the end of this whole project, I think we're going to have a pretty attractive, nice looking bike. But of course that's all in the eye of the beholder. So let me go get busy. The temperature's actually dropped down so much in the last day, the fish aren't even coming up for food, so maybe it's colder than I think it was. So let's start at the beginning. Yesterday we made up this pattern while I was waiting for the rain to stop. This is the part, the size of piece I need. I need to go into my drawer of carbon fiber, find a scrap with the twill running in this dimension, not in the point, in this dimension. See if I can make it out of a piece of scrap. And if I can, I'll have to make some more carbon fiber. Now, whenever I make any carbon fiber parts, of course, number one job, save all the scrap. Second choice, never use a bigger piece than you have to, because somewhere down the road you may need a big long piece for actually, this is probably a piece I could use for the, I already used it for the top of the chain guard, this part that we're working on now. That's a doable piece, but I'm sure I have others if I just look around. But I need to have the grain in the part. Oh, that's going to fit part. Ooh, that's a candidate. Don't throw that away. But I do have, and from every various job I've made, solid carbon twill, we've got a lot of it. And what I used to do years ago, I'd have a box and I'd save everything. Now this is the fine weave. I don't want to use that. I want this to match. And I do say, you can tell how many model airplanes I built. That's the scrap plywood. Anyway, we're going to find a piece. So far, that piece looks okay. We got another one here. Okay, so we got two choices. That's a piece we've used already. Always important not to use up use this, it's a good way to look at things. Use the smallest. That's too small, too small. All right, so we have it down to 2 pieces that we can use. Here's another one. Let's just see. Here's an extra license plate. I made an extra one years ago. I used to make, whenever I'd make a carbon fiber part, I'd make a spare one because I know somewhere in the future it's almost as easy to make 2 as 1. Okay, so we're down to we're down to 3 pieces. The grain is not going to go. Yeah, maybe it will. No, not really. Maybe up there. Okay, so I can look at all 3 of these and look at which one is going to be the best candidate from cutting this part out. So the next thing, among all the candidate pieces here, I want to find a piece and find out where exactly. There are no or very few defects in this. This looks like a pretty good piece. Some of them have little dust spots and stuff because, again, we always sand these down. Now, it's rare that I leave it in raw carbon, but in any case, that's how it is. Okay, so I can lay this out now. Just take this here. I only need the middle, so I can cut that out of the carbon. And this is the carbon, by the way, we made on a previous video. Very easy to make. West Systems Resin 207 hardener, the clear hardener. Very easy to do it. And before I cut this, a little shout out to I got a nice message from Carlos. He painted his Mt09 Army color, and I hope he'll send me some pictures. And if you decide you like to send pictures to me, it's FZRGUY72618@gmail. So I'll post that somewhere up on the video later. Anyway, Carlos, real men paint outside. So now, the videos always get long because I don't leave out any steps. The next step is I've got to cut the actual piece out. Put that on here, somehow hold it in place, and then figure out how much of the edge of this I need to sand, because where I'm going to put the epoxy, I don't want to have this shiny, glassy surface. I want this edge, like a picture frame, that I can sand it with some 220 or something and get it rough, because that's where the epoxy is going to bond, right there. So, and again, when I do these kind of projects, I try not to leave out any steps. Okay, this is the part I need to roughen up. This is the part I want to keep as smooth as possible. So the first thing now is to take this piece on here and figure out exactly where it is. We can do that with some 1/8" tape, and I'll make this as easy as possible on myself here. And I want to get it lined up right with the grain of the twill also. Now what this does, this shows me the outline of the part that I have to, this is the part I'm going to actually see. So now I'm going to take this piece of cardboard off, and I don't need the cardboard anymore. And now I'm going to back mask this part, and then go out to the motorcycle and make sure it fits, that I got the exact shape I want. And then I'm going to have to, I'll pull up the green tape and sand this whole like a picture frame, because that's where the epoxy is going to grab. So it's a little tricky, and I know a lot of people that have not done this, that have never been modelers or engineers or whatever. Sometimes you can't figure out the next step. That's why I try to include every step. And again, it's easy now. I just can mask inside the tape, and when I'm done, peel up the tape, and I can go out and check the fit. Now that's going to give me the exposed area. Now these are rounded corners, so I'm going to go trace them out when I actually do the part. I'll take the pen out with me, and I want to make sure I've got this exactly where I want it. And then I'm just going to pull up the green tape, and I can sand this whole perimeter, and that'll be ready then to go install. Clean up the chain guard with some M600, ready to install. Now anytime I'm dry fitting a part, I want to be real accurate if possible. And I had thought about painting this blue, to be honest, but I think the carbon's going to look better. And so maybe I made this a little bit, there we go. Alright, so it actually does come to a point. Okay, that's pretty good. That is really good. I think that's going to work out great. And it'll complement the fact when we did this chain guard, cutting all these porcupine things off, because when this bike was new, it had this big the tail light to hell. And I really think this was a nice little upgrade, nice little touch. Now, since we just painted this chain guard, it shouldn't really be dirty, but there's always some residual. We've been riding in salt and everything. So I rolled a paper towel around a paint stick, and by the way, this is a good trick when you want to clean something. A little degreasing agent, in this case it's M600. We can just get right up there where the epoxy is going to be. See what kind of residual junk. Yeah, it's actually pretty clean. And if I have to, if this doesn't work out conveniently, there's an easy choice. I'll take the chain guard off again. Not a big deal, but I think this is fine. See, we use chain wax, so there's usually not a lot of crap on the back wheel and everything. So, and this you can't really buy anymore, so I don't know. Sikkens M600, the best degreaser I know, but not available in all 48 states. Now, the belt sander helps. I wanted to be sure I didn't have any razor edges or sharp edges, so while I'm working on a bike, or I don't have anything snag on it. Now, I don't want to sand where we're going to see, so I want to be real careful here. Just do the edges. This will be really one of these really critical things, because I got to get this lined up. And getting it lined up is going to be a little trickier than, yeah, maybe than I think it is. We'll find out. And I got to have some way, either hold it by hand and babysit it for 5 minutes while the epoxy dries. In this cold weather today, probably take 10 minutes to dry, so whatever the reason is, we just have to pay the price. Now, one of the things, it was supposed to rain this afternoon, so I wasn't planning on shooting pictures, but maybe a day I can get a few pictures shot. That would be very nice. Of all the modifications. See, I try to do it on an ongoing basis, so I always have pictures of the latest mods to share with people, and just for my own reference, so I can plan out the next mod I want to make, like this little guy. By looking at the computer and having other people give me feedback, a bike like this is never finished. It's always a work in progress. Okay, so I have that perimeter all sanded in, and the next thing I'm going to pull off the blue tape, of course, and when I put the epoxy on, I'm going to be real careful just to get enough on, and then I'm going to have to spend the time I'm babysitting. Any that oozes out or gets out, I'm going to have to bring a bunch of Q-tips and paper towels and probably M600 out to the garage. And there's our final part, ready to go out to the garage. Now we've got the epoxy, and what I'll do, I'll mix it in the house so it's warmer than out in the garage, just to save a little babysitting time. This is a good quality epoxy available from Lowe's. It says 5 minute in cold weather, plan on 10 to 15, but it eventually, if you mix it accurately, and you can use a little hair dryer sometime to warm it up, it'll be fine. Now, it's funny, in warm weather, 5 minutes is a realistic time, but in this weather out here today, maybe 15 minutes. Now, even though it doesn't look tricky, this is a part that's tricky because I have to line it up, and I have a very small picture frame that I want to get the epoxy to stick, and I'd let as little as possible going out onto the carbon fiber part, so I have to clean it with Q-tips and with M600. But this, I basically have to sit here at least 10 minutes here and clean off the extra epoxy. And once I get this lined up, just getting the extra epoxy off the corners here, this is going to be a little time consuming, but I got to hold this in position until that dries. Now, at least one thing, in cold weather, you don't have to worry about the epoxy kicking off before it's in place, but the cleanup is hard. And once it starts to set up, a little bit of the M600 on the end of a Q-tip will clean that up. But in this temperature, this is going to take a little bit extra time, that's for sure. Now we got to babysit it and just keep wiping off the excess with a Q-tip with some M600. Well, the last thing for the day, I want to get out, and it's not raining yet, it's cloudy, but I wanted to get some pictures of the mods, and then we plan on the next thing we're going to do. That's how it always works out. Anyway, this went off pretty well. And of course, in this cold weather, epoxy always dries slower in cold weather. Paint does too. And boy, I think that just worked out as good as I could have ever expected. I think that little piece, that's going to just be one more little detail. One tiny detail. That really did come out pretty nice. And the truth is, all of these little mods are fun to do and be very easy to undo. In this case, if you want to take that piece out, hit it with a hairdryer, soften up the epoxy, and just take it out. Couldn't be a lot easier than that. So all that's left here is to shoot some pictures for the computer. Again, every little detail, every little detail. I can't, even I'm amazed at how this was played out. Because all these other restorations I've done, I've ripped the whole bike apart. And this one I've not. I've never taken it apart. I've taken one part at a time, and it's a new thing for me. But it certainly seems to work. Maybe it'll work for you. But it's time to go shoot some photos. And these photo shoots have been really a big part of doing all the mods on this bike. And maybe that's something that would work for you too. Now, it was very cloudy and it looked like it was going to rain any minute here, so I was looking to get as many pictures as I could taken from as many different angles, and there's some forsythias blooming right across the street, so I thought, oh, I'd get over there and get some nice pictures we could use for thumbnails or for whatever, or if we go to sell the bike to Luciano, I don't know. But anyway, I look at the pictures now as I have them down by my computer, one detail at a time. Now, when I look at the pictures, what do I really like and what do I not like? So the big primary thing is the more blue I put on a motorcycle, the better I like it. Simple, less flat black, more blue, I like it better. I like the color, the silver wheels, silver trim, and the blue. That always floats my boat. I love the scoops, especially after being over in Motorcycle Mall and seeing some of the scoops on more modern bikes. It's a couple of years old already. And I like mine better, but it's all personal choice anyway. So, and I looked at some of the new colors on the new bikes, and it kind of like for younger people, and obviously I'm not going to ever be confused with a younger person. So by looking at it from different angles, and here's just some examples, and with the yellow background, the blue looks a little more defined, and it's nice. The bar ends worked out great. That's just a nice little touch. Kind of things you don't expect to see, and then all of a sudden you say, oh, there's little details there. Little details. None of them are really expensive. That little chain guard thing, to me, it's a little detail that somebody's going to be looking at the bike, and looking at the bike, and all of a sudden I say, oh, that's a little unique there, a little different. The top of the chain guard not being a porcupine. Looking at it on a cloudy day, now what'll happen is on a bright sunny day, that blue will get a lot more purpley. It's a pearlescent color. This is just the way it is. But I did like the way that came out. I liked that a lot. Now, I always like to shoot the pictures on different backgrounds if I possibly can, because somewhere down the road I may want to use these pictures, and I purposely have a giant memory with terabytes. I don't know how big it is. John Pathia, and thank you, John, figured it out for me so I could store millions of pictures. And at some point in time, of course, I'll be happy to share them. And I'm sharing them as I go along here anyway. But every little step, now there's no step of the bike so far that I haven't liked. Polishing the exhaust was a big thing. That was a very labor-intensive thing. And I have a new polishing tool I'm going to do a special video on for polishing exhaust. And I want to share that on a separate video. That really worked out great so far. But again, it's not ready for prime time. And I don't like to make things until I find out the good side and the bad side of them, so I can make an honest evaluation. This is one thing worked out great, the nice little clock, so I don't get home early. Karen always makes a nice hot lunch. I don't want to get home and have cold lunch. The exhaust, again, very labor intensive, but I've got a special tool, and I am going to share that very soon. And I think everybody in the world can do what I did. Certainly, it's just a lot of labor. Like everything on this bike, it isn't like you got to write a check for $3,000. There's every one of the steps. And I've documented every one of the steps on the videos for somebody who wants to do some of, all of, none of, or they want to just make a set of silver wheels. Well, 16 dedicated videos, and all I can say, if you can watch them at work, even better. If you can watch them on a big screen TV, really, really handy. But anyway, I always watch them on, I have a big giant monitor for both of my computers. And when I try to look at these videos on a phone, I go, nah, I don't know. But anyway, it's all in the eye of the beholder. And I know young people are so used to looking at a phone, maybe they don't even know what a TV is. I like the way the silver, the mesh on the back came out. It's a step-by-step process. The wheels are that was the final touch. And having John Pathia to let me see what these would look like before I ever even mixed the paint, and making my own special silver paint, 4-to-1 mix, very cool. So it's a pretty good day. We got another little detail part added to the bike. Got some nice photos. Looks like it's going to rain any minute. I think we just caught a break here, not getting the rain. It is really clouding up now. We're going to put the bike away, live to fight another day. So of course I hope you did enjoy the video and ongoing sharing our adventure with trying to make this bike as attractive as we can. Small mods, some inexpensive stuff, no real big store-bought parts from the store, and I don't think there's anything out of the realm of an average person doing it. It's just a lot of labor, and it's a real lot of labor. But in the end, it's something I enjoy. I enjoy making the videos and sharing them. I look forward to seeing anybody that's going to send me some pictures to include on the video. Make sure you put the details in there too. And I hope we'll see you tomorrow. We post something up every day.